Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unconventional GMs. I'm Gaz, one of your co-hosts, and tonight I'm going to be running Cold City version 2. It's currently the playtest because if you're quick enough, you'll be able to get to Kickstarter and back it right now. So the rules may change slightly from what we demonstrate here, but this is giving you a new flavour, an excellent monster hunting in post-war Berlin game from Handiwork Games this time round. They're the new publisher. But Malcolm Craig, who wrote the original game, he's back on board along with lots of others like Paul Boyne for the art and graphics and things like that. And it's an excellent game of hidden agendas, trust, and betrayal. So, if you've seen our channel before, you will know, and if not, I shall tell you that we play in about 2 hours or less. So, this should be a pacey one shot just to give you a flavour, and we will rattle through and see if our bold and brave, the great and good that we have assembled here, can discover what's happening in the bowels of Berlin tonight, or whether they shall die or suffer in ignominy. We'll play to find out. So let's meet some of those bold heroes, shall we? Or maybe the villains. Let's discover. Shall we start with my co-host Guy? How's it going?
It's going brilliantly. I say I'm Guy, the other half of Unconventional GMs. I also blog at burnafterrunningRPG.com about one-shot games and associated things. And today I am playing Brenda. She's an American nurse, former nurse, around about 30, but dresses a little bit older. Generally has a nice, comfortable cardigan on, which I'm accidentally cosplaying tonight, not deliberately. Yeah, looks a bit middle-aged, a bit frumpy. Sort of tries to keep herself to herself, blends into the background, but it's that kind of skill to hopefully keep out of trouble that Islak have recruited her for. In order to use her interpersonal abilities. She's also, as will become apparent here, had to join because she's been infected by some strange disease by accident. She's recently taken some experimental treatment for it, but who knows whether that will go well or poorly. I guess we can all imagine how well that's going to go in the course of the game. But as you say, play to find out. Brenda is, as ever, an optimist. So that's me.
Excellent stuff. And returning as a guest, we also have Andrew Kemrick. How's it going, Andrew?
Hi, yes, well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I am Andrew Kemrick. I'm the author of the horror RPG Dead of Night, which we're not playing tonight. And I'm also a Roman historian, which puts this time period about 2,000 years after my kind of area of expertise. But tonight I'll put that to one side, and I'm playing Jean-Baptiste Brad. I'm a jaded junior army officer in the French army, a former resistance fighter who has lost his brother to something sinister, and he's trying to find out what that was. I look quite young. I'm probably only in my mid-20s. I've kind of got a slightly a moustache I'm still trying to grow, kind of a bit of fluff on my upper lip, but my eyes suggest that I've seen altogether too much. I've got this haunted look about me.
Wonderful stuff. And also returning once more, we have John. How's it going?
Going good. Thanks for inviting me back. So I'm John Ossaway, designer and illustrator and occasional writer of things. I'm tonight playing George Power. He's a retired logistics sergeant from the British Army. George doesn't really want to be recruited again, but has been recruited, and so he's here to do a job. He's a teacher back at home and would prefer to be back at home teaching. I think he probably looks like he's retired. He looks like he's smoked far too many senior service cigarettes during his career, and will probably have a hip flask about his person as well. And yeah, I think that's him. I think he's grumpy and doesn't want to be there, but he's there and he's got a job to do now.
Well, happily, that's just the character and not you as a player.
Absolutely, yes.
You're cheerful and happy to be here. Great stuff. And we're delighted to have Stephen with us for the first time. How's it going, Stephen?
Oh, great, thanks. And thanks for inviting me on. I'm Stephen. I'm going to be playing Igor Misilovich, a conniving Soviet diplomat. So Igor's pretty sleazy. He avoided fighting through a mixture of bureaucratic and family contacts and raw bribery, sliding into the diplomatic corps and sort of sat out the war behind a desk, shuffling papers and working his way up the greasy pole. Now he's in Berlin though, and some of the enemies that he stabbed in the back on the way up have caught up with him. So he's joined up with Islek, hoping to find some kind of technology or bargaining chips that will help him get out from under the thumb of his enemies.
Beautiful stuff. Thanks very much. And for people who are interested in more role-playing information, interviews, and knowledge, I also co-host What Would the Smart Party Do, the UK's premier RPG podcast. So after this game, feel free to check that out as well. So we begin. There may be some themes that are disturbing to sensitive viewers. This is the Cold War period. We're maybe bringing up topics that involve the Second War or other things, but we will treat it with maturity and sensitivity. But just to get that warning out of the way, and of course, although we do have Soviets as part of the story and all the rest of it, I personally oppose the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, Slava Ukraine. With that said, let us continue. So, the group are all Islak agents, as they're called. That's an initialism we don't need to get into, but basically they are a group of agents brought together from all nationalities to try and investigate and uncover problems with twisted technology, with occult, with weird things that have happened, even more secret stuff than the atomic secrets. If you imagine all the weirdest and wildest fantasies of Hitler and his occultism and fuel and UFOs and all that kind of stuff were actually true, or perhaps partially true, there is some strange and uncanny undercurrent and things that happened during the war, even though the outcome was the same in this world, that this group is tasked with investigating particularly. And ostensibly, they're all working together, so I'm sure we'll come to a happy ending. We'll begin with them in Mitte, in the centre of Berlin. It's part of the route that the Red Army have travelled through, so it's still under construction. There are people still tasked with moving rubble and things like that, even though it's 5 years after the war. It's a long and slow process of rebuilding. It's a dark morning, rain's dropping down in fat, greasy droplets everywhere and just moving some of the dirt and filth around in rainbow kind of oil slick colours down the street and across the ruined cobbles. You've been tasked with investigating a community that is under the streets of Berlin in the old sewers and semi-bunker structures that are there. Some people have set up home. There's black market down there. There's rumoured particularly to be one Dr. Kurt Wagner, who leads the community and provides healthcare, which is a rare gift to some, especially if you don't have much means here. But recently there was a shifting underground, whether it was an earthquake, whether it was an exploding addition, whether it was something, but the cave system collapsed. Caves, for want of a better word, the underground system collapsed. And although there were a lot of deaths and things like that, there was efforts to try and recover people, not entirely successful. And there were rumours that something else was down there. The disturbance has caused something to leak out, and the rescue teams that were going and trying to recover things are basically down tools and refuse to, although that hasn't stopped part of the community from re-inhabiting the underworld of Berlin. And so it is that your team has been brought together to establish if there is in fact something untoward, and either neutralise it or otherwise keep it away from prying eyes, because despite the fact that we and our viewers know that Islak exists and that there's weird and wonderful things that might have happened, the wider world doesn't. The horrors of the Nazi regime are well known, but this other stuff is kept from prying eyes, so it's partly your task to resolve it, but also to do so in a discreet manner. So, there you are on a wet, cobbled street. There is an entrance to what was an U-Bahn station, with the U's kind of fallen off upside down, so it looks like an N. There's people drifting about. As you've arrived, the motley collection that you are, some in military uniforms, most of the people scattered across the street. There's a stench from below that smells quite oily and smoky, so you do get a kind of after explosion kind of smell from it, and there's detritus all lining the steps leading down. Is there anything that anybody immediately wants to do? Was there some preparation you made? You'd like to create a scene in flashback, or a conversation you want to have amongst yourselves about how you may approach this task you've been given?
I mean, I've taken a trip to the armory. I'm armed as always, various weaponry. I mean, I'm Jean-Baptiste is in favour of tackling this full frontally, going straight down into the U-Bahn. I guess the rest of you know my proclivities in that respect. So whether you are content to let me or not, I think we should head down to the U-Bahn right away.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should go there. Brenda's got a doctor's bag with some rough medical equipment in it, and has got over over her infected arm actually has got a like Red Cross like armband on just to show. I'll say yeah. I mean, we should go in and see the lie of the land first. First, John Baptiste, of course. Like there are people down here, and we want to bring them back up into the light. And we need to find out what's really going on down there first, don't we?
We should talk to them then. Maybe maybe they've seen something. Maybe we can see who's seen too much.
I'm going to have a flashback to before I set off as well, packing a suitcase before heading over. And he's in two. He kind of keeps handling his service revolver in two minds about packing it, and he kind of puts it in, then he takes it out and he puts it in, and then he picks up his old commando knife and he thinks I'm going to take that, puts that back in, and then he puts his revolver aside and doesn't bring it because he's thinking I shouldn't need this. You know, I'm not there to fight. So he may regret that later.
George.
Yeah, he may regret that later, but you know.
I would like to have a flashback to Igor sort of leaning across the counter in Berlin, whatever passes for Berlin's records in post-war, sort of leaning across the counter, sort of counting out US dollars onto the table, trying to bribe the guy for plans of the U-Bahn and the sewer tunnels underneath the streets.
Excellent. Well, I think most of what people have said is fine. We can just roll with that. I think this is an opportunity of our first roll of the session. Have some conflict, Stephen, if you're up for it. Yep. So, I think your goal is to have basically a till to have some plans of the station and so forth.
I'm looking for.
I say for my stake, for my goal, I'm going to suggest that there's spies everywhere and people are obviously after you. So my stake will be that not whether you get the plans or not, but whether you're discovered. So if you fail this, then they're going to be more hot on your trail than they were a minute ago. If that's right with you.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
So if you want to send me your dice pool, basically how the new game works is I've got some dice pools I can use and I can bring dice out of them. I think external enemies is definitely something I'm gonna bring. So I'm gonna chuck in 4 dice from those. And just Berlin itself, the fact that it's can be cold and strange place these days, I'm going to add another 3 dice in from my Berlin pool as well.
Okay, that's a lot of dice. I'm not sure I can muster that many, but we'll give it a go. So Igor is using his influence. It's all about bribery and persuasion here. So I've got 4 dice from that. And he has the trait one step ahead of the opposition. So I'm going to pull in 2 dice for that. So I've got 6.
Sounds good. So you all roll dice, and then we compare who's got the highest results, basically.
So I have a 10.
I've got 2 10s, unfortunately.
Oh, no. That's disappointing.
This is my first time running this game. I may have gone too strong on a gather information roll, but we'll see how that works. Okay, so as I described, you get what you wanted anyway. You've got your map. Happily for me, if I succeed as control, I get my dice back, so my pool's refreshed, so I can make the same mistake again the next time we roll some dice. That's good. And let's have a look at what the consequences are going to use for 1. I'm going to use actually the one that seems most obvious, which is to further add a dice to a group that was used in the camp. So the external enemies that I've mentioned are hunting you. I'm going to give them an extra dice for future because they've now got a tip off about where you might be and what you're up to. So yeah, that scene could end happily with you getting your plans, stuffing them into your pocket, and as you exit the record shop, the guy counts out his dollars and immediately picks up his phone and starts circular dialing to get another set of dollars from someone else for passing that information on. It's been a good day to be a record store owner in Berlin. Okay, back in the current day, you've all descended into the steppes. It's dark down here, it's dank. There's no electricity underground in this part anyway, but if you imagine an old tiled U-Bahn station, so there's the very gothic letters that kind of, some of them are still on the wall. You're not sure what station it was based on the number of letters there. It's a bit like a halfway done countdown board or something with some weird tiles there. Everything's grimy, but there's lots of small fires in oil barrels or other containers that are giving a sort of hellish red light around the place. People are huddled in groups. There's makeshift tents, tarpaulins and stuff strung across lines, bits of manky washing, although the clothes don't look particularly clean, drifting away. And there's people both in on the rail where the rails used to be, buckled and above, and there's a howling wind that's coming from somewhere, you're not quite sure where, but down the tunnel there's obviously some breakage up to the surface somewhere as a cold wind's kind of fluttering through and causing everything to flutter.
I've got something I want to do. So I'm going to say to Brenda, Brenda, these people look like they look like they're in a bad way. Perhaps you could treat them to help gain their trust. And once I've kind of distracted, I'm hopefully going to use Brenda as a bit of a distraction because I want to move amongst these unfortunates I've got a photograph of my brother who's missing, and I'm going to see if any of them have seen him. And obviously I'm temporarily putting aside the mission for my own personal kind of gain here. I want to see if I can get a lead to see. I'm convinced some of these facilities that my brother's disappeared into exist down here, possibly in the hands of Dr. Wagner. Is that something I can?
Well, conveniently, I was going to go among them and try and treat them to gain their trust and to ask them if they knew where Dr. Wagner might be, because I might have some additional supplies to help with them. So, I guess we're both rolling for different.
Yeah, we've got different purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two ways we can do it, just to explain for people at home. You could have a lead person taking the action, someone can assist and use a limited dice pool to help that, or you can have your separate conflicts depending on what you want to do. If you feel you want to get separate information, or the things you're trying to find out are for more personal use. So which way would you like to do it?
I mean, mine's for my personal agenda, but I've got a feeling yours might be as well, Brenda. Is that right?
Yeah, well, mine's for my national agenda. For my yeah, so that again, I think we're at cross purposes really. So I think we're probably both rolling against Gaz's enormous dice pool that he's going to
yes,
well. So,
you could both roll separately against me, and we'll see who comes out top. So to be clear on what your goals are, for Andrew, you're trying to find out some more information or get a lead on Renault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Guy,
my missing brother. Yeah.
What's your goal?
Trying to get a lead on Wagner.
Okay, you're trying to find Wagner himself. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my goal here is that the people down here are desperate and they want all they can get. So there could be either someone tries to rob Brenda, or otherwise mislead you to get either one of you away from the rest of the group, so they can sound fleece you for all you've got, or that kind of thing. So that's my goal here. Is my desperate mob, as I will call them, are trying to get things off you, get you isolated, and get stuff off you.
Okay, so I'm. Oh, sorry. So, Brenda, do you want to assemble your dice pool first?
That's probably the order to do it. Yeah, I'll do mine. So I've got influence of 3. My appearance elicits sympathy in others. I can. So I'm using my national agenda, which is an extra attribute, isn't it? So an extra 3.
Yeah.
I can spot trouble at a glance, which I think will help me here.
Oh yes.
And I think I can use my trust in John Baptiste, can't I? Because we're. Is that okay? Because we're sort of helping each other.
I don't think your trust with him's helping, because he's not doing anything for you. I think he can use his trust with you.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
That's what I was angling for.
Fair play, yeah. Okay, I'll roll that. So I think I've got 9 dice in it, or something like that.
Okay.
7, 8 or something, yeah.
I'm going to go pretty similar before. I'm going to use 4 from Berlin, and I'm going to use 3 from external enemies. So I'll roll 7 dice.
Do we roll against your a single roll, or do you do me separately?
I think I'll do you separately, since you're predicating on what happens on this, how distracting Brenda is.
She's my distraction, right? She might be my tool.
Exactly, yeah. That's what to describe it. Okay, I've got 1 10.
I have 3 10s.
Okay, so you've got 2 points of consequence, and you get what you wanted.
Okay, so I think. Oh, do I have to spend my points? Should I spend my points first? Because that might
That informs
resolve what
Yeah.
we're doing. I wonder. I can increase my. I can't think of a trait that really applies here because I'm not that would gain or lock, and nothing negative was in there. For 2, I can increase the attribute used by 1. So could I increase my influence? Does that
Yes.
make sense? Yeah. So I
Yeah,
put my
you're not on the
influence
character
up.
sheet. You've got an initial and then a current.
Yeah.
Attribute can only ever be 1 higher than it started. Just so you're aware,
Yep.
so you won't be able to
No.
increase your influence again unless it goes down.
So
Okay,
yeah, I'll boost that.
As you're basically gaining influence amongst the crowd, like quite literally in the English sense of the word, people are coming to you. They've got all kinds of ailments, as you can understand. And it's at one point when you reach in your bag and your cuff kind of like catches on the bag, and there's a bit of the black pulsing veins can be seen on your arm, and a hand clamps on yours, perhaps causing your heart to flutter a little bit. And like this old man's putting his finger to his lips, and he kind of pulls down at his shirt, and you can see these black thread-like worms under his skin.
I put my hand on his with it, and we share a moment of shared understanding as our eyes meet.
Says you must go 2 stops down to the north. Don't worry, the doctor will feed your worms. Gives you this little stroke on your cheek.
Thank you for your help.
I'm feeling so much better. And he kind of looks out this wan smile on his face.
Yes, you look it.
Yeah, for clarity of viewers at home, he does not look well at all. But he feels well, and that's half the battle. Yeah. Excellent. So there's now almost a little line of people, or certainly a small crowd has started as people are drifting towards Brenda, who seems to be dispensing free stuff and giving some kind of ministration to people who are ill. So that gives you your opportunity, Andrew, to influence.
Yeah, so I'll take advantage of the distraction, basically, of the crowd, so that it's more to conceal what I'm doing from the others, really. I'll kind of pretend to be helping Brenda hand stuff out. This isn't for sinister goals, really. This is for very noble personal goals. So I've got. I'm just trying to see if I can find a lead on Renault, see if they know anything. So I've got an influence of 2, but it's my personal agenda, so that doubles up, right? But I trust nobody but myself. That's. I'm known to the authorities, so I'm kind of poking around where I shouldn't. I'm sure that won't come into cause me any problems. But because of the war, I feel no revulsion. I don't mind moving amongst these kind of misbegotten types. And also because I'm using Brenda in some fashion. I know it's not the worst kind of betrayal, but I'm going to use her trust in me.
Yeah, well, if you annoy people, then she's going to take the consequences of that. So that's feels.
Yeah. So is that my trust in Brenda or Brenda's trust in me?
So you're effectively not betraying it, but that's the parlance of the game.
Kind of using her trust in
their trust, because you're using
good.
her good nature.
Okay,
so what I'll say first, quickly before we roll, is I'm going to make this conflict easy, unless you choose otherwise. So you can just win if you want, with no consequences. But I get to add 2 dice to any of my pools.
Okay.
So I'll increase my dice pools, or if you want, you can make it hard, so I don't get any extra dice when I have to roll off against you.
Well, I mean, I'm acting kind of selfishly anyway, so let's continue acting selfish. I think I'll take that easy. You can increase one of your pools.
Excellent stuff. I think that adds to the general feeling of Berlin itself and the nature of people these days. So I'm going to increase my Berlin pool back up by 2, which I'd lost previously to Brenda's. Okay.
So do I get any? I don't get any consequences for that, though, do I?
You don't. No. It just works.
It just works. Good.
Okay, so you don't think you're getting any joy at first until eventually someone looks at the image and just look with absolute horror when they see Renault's face.
That's not the reaction I was hoping for.
Snatch the picture out of your hand and look at it and go, so he was human once.
Well, I'm already quite a pale-looking youth. So,
Okay, but
what
up to
remains
now,
of the
that's
colour
all been
kind
very
of blanches
theoretical.
from my
But I want to
face.
talk about how it works in practice.
Yeah.
So let's take a.
Sorry, my headphones are playing up. Let me just
You
do
play
that.
for
Okay.
keeps around here, don't you?
Yeah. We've only got 2 hours. Let's. So yeah, and he makes a meaningful glance around the north heading path of the E-ban, and sort of shudders a bit and gives you the photograph back, almost as if the photo's looking at him and might do something to him.
Yeah, get this out of here. I think we need to move on, Brenda. I think the north is the way we should go. Igor, George.
If you say so, yeah. That's,
Agreed. It stinks down here, and we're not here to dispense charity.
Well, stay behind me. I'll someone watch my back. I guess I know George.
Igor will do a lot more staying behind you than watching your back, but he is back there.
yeah, I'm sure George can cover it. I mean, you've brought your old service revolver, haven't you, George?
Absolutely, says George. Shifts his knapsack. His shoulder bag.
Let's I'll hop down onto the tracks and kind of head onwards, and I'm sure confident that my trusted allies have got us covered.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to take care as you hop down, as it's just snagged with detritus and bodies and people's little tents and makeshift sleeping areas and stuff. So you start to clatter your way through that one by one. Igor, glancing over your shoulder, is just habit these days as you're descending onto the tracks. You notice in a mirror of your draw scene that we played off camera, there's a couple of guys in, like, if it was 5 years earlier, you might have said look like Gestapo, but they've got the long Macs, they've got the little pork pie hats pulled down. The Macs are too small for them as well. They're kind of straining the buttons with those kind of like oval shapes at the front because they're too big. And you see them looking, scanning the crowd, and in slow motion they're kind of looking where you are as you're about to jump down. I'm going to call for a scene here where there's a chance you might have been spotted and followed immediately, unless there's some way you could avoid it. So would you like to, are you going to try and avoid being seen? Are you trying to distract them, put them off in some way, or confront them, or are you just going to run? What do you want to do?
I am just going to I'm just going to slide down onto the tracks. I say slide, I mean like just jump and like just amongst the crap in the tracks. He just sort of looks over his shoulder, looks shifty, and then just ducks down.
Sounds good. So do you want to assemble an action pool? I think we're going to call that.
Yeah. So action is 2, so that's not great. But Igor does work well under extreme pressure, so I'm pulling that in. But yeah, it's not relevant to my agenda. And
so the other thing
I tell you what, I'll push George out of the way in my desperation to get down onto the tracks, shove him between me and these guys, and just like duck behind him and down onto the tracks.
George, look, can George see who these people? Can he see anybody looking at us if I get pushed out of the way? Because
you probably hadn't noticed, but this will definitely alert you to their presence when it happens.
Yeah.
But
So
roll some dice to see exactly what happens. But
I'll grab 2 dice for George's trust in me.
I was going to say, if George can use one of his traits to assist the situation, he'll light a cigarette and stare at them using his hard as nails traits.
Sure, yeah, I'll go for that. You can add that in.
I mean, in a way to distract them from him, so I'm someone they don't know. If you know what I mean, as in like, maybe
sure.
they didn't. Yeah, in that sense.
So yeah. What I'll point out though, if there's any negative consequences, you'll suffer them as well for being involved.
Yeah, that's fine.
As long as you're aware that's thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you as well, Steve, is I think this is complicated based on what's happening because it's not really to do with what you're supposed to be doing, and as a result, it's up to you. I'm going to try and bring in dice from the cold as well, which is one of my special dice pools, or my special dice pool. But you can refuse this if you want, and just make it a normal hard conflict. In which case, I'll get 2 more dice to add to cold to use later, or you can.
No. You use your cold dice. I'm up for that.
Excellent. So I'll use 2 from there. I'm going to use 4 from external enemies, and I'm going to use a couple from Berlin, I think, as well. So I'm going to roll 8 dice. Let's roll in those.
I have 110.
I've got 2 10s.
Oh, no.
Done it to me again.
Well, you will let me use those cold dice, won't you? Excellent. Okay, so there's the good thing is it's only 1 point of consequence from that. I'm going to. I think you and George. I'm not sure exactly how it plays because these are new rules and it could be fluid. But I'm going to say it applies to both of you rather than try and split the point because I've only got 1 point to spend. I'm going to reduce the trust by 1 between each of you.
Okay.
So your trust with each other will go down by 1. As it's clear that he's tried to throw you under the bus, George, and as you look, you realise that these people are probably your hard stare might work in the commissary or something, but these guys aren't ones to be pushed around like that, and they haven't left their service revolvers at home. It becomes immediately apparent.
Overstretch yourself with a teacher look. You go
Detention.
And as one of them's pulling out a broom-handled Mauser, the crowd start to move away as well. There's a susurration as people start moving away, but I'll let you say you can both dive down into the tracks if you want and start to make your way through, but there's now an active pursuit as 2 men are following you. Up at the front, I don't know whether you notice all this, you're paying attention. What's Jean-Baptiste doing?
Well, I think Brenda's quite close behind. Brenda seemed very eager to explore the tunnels to the north as well. I think I'm going to push in. I'm confident. I do trust both George and Igor, possibly to my detriment. So I'm going to push on. I've got a torch sending out kind of a weak light up into the tunnels. Just the odd kind of oil drum up ahead, and I'm scanning very deliberately all the shadows because I'm convinced there's something down here, a secret entrance perhaps, or something worse.
Yeah, definitely. You have to start clambering over the burnt-out ruins of a rail car, if that's what you call subway cars these days. But it's jagged, rusty, twisted pieces. It almost looks like the metal itself's tortured from the heat of the blast, and it smells quite recent. It's even warm to the touch, although the metal itself looks old and rusty and ferrous.
Can we force our way in, like pulling the one of the doors open? And it might be easier to head down the length of the carriage rather than trying to clamber over it.
It does still seem dangerous, and like I said, oddly warm, and there's just something unsettling and uncanny about it that causes your hackles to raise. So it's going to be an ancient conflict to get through. I'm again going to say this is quite complicated because there's something happening here that's not ordinary.
Yeah, I'm content to let it be complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll add 2 dice to the cold pool.
For this one, can I assist? As I will
yes.
lend a hand opening it and doing it. So
yeah. You can hold the torch while he's.
I'm going to open the door with my special arm. I think.
What do I get for an assist?
Yeah.
So there's a limit to what can be added, but if you've got a trait you think's appropriate, or there's a couple of other things you can add in if you want to. I'm going to risk opening my PDF and hoping that doesn't hit OBS.
So you can certainly have 2 negative dice from my experimental medical treatment.
Can I not have a couple of dice from your can spot trouble at a glance?
Oh yeah, that would you can have that as well. If you can have 2 traits, can spot trouble at a glance does seem relevant as well.
You get to add 1 of your traits. You can't add more than 1 if you're assisting.
Okay. Do you want me to have your negative one then, Guy?
I think yes. I'd like to add the negative one. Yeah, that's more fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So you get to add at most. You get to add 1 trait, 1 hidden agenda if appropriate, and potentially 1 skill if you don't get 1.
Sure. Okay. I don't. So I got 4 for my action. I got 2 for because of the war. I feel no revulsion. I think I'm moving through, and then I've got the 2 from Brenda's weird arm.
Do you get my trust as well? Does that play into it as well? Or?
Oh yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We're working together, right? Working as a team.
Yeah.
Okay.
We trust each other. Well, yeah.
I enjoy using things from Berlin because it's just the weird feature of Berlin, so I'm throwing 4 dice for that. And it might seem odd, but I'll declare it anyway. Somebody knows what's going on. I'm using 4 dice for my monsters.
That seems a mistake.
Okay.
Sure. George and
Brenda's
Igor.
weird
will
arm.
favours.
Brenda's weird arm needs to become a trait in itself. I like that phrase.
Wait, I think it is already, isn't it? Brenda, unfortunately, Brenda, your arm has come up top, so that's going to be exciting for everybody else, isn't it? So I've got two tens, but one of the tens is from the negative trait Brenda used for me.
Okay, so the good news is I haven't got any tens, so you've got 2
Oh.
points of consequence to spread. Good news.
Okay.
The bad news is because your negative trait's coming top, you've got to narrate in something negative that happens as a consequence of that.
Okay, so I've
And
got
it's up
2
to you
points
whether you want to give that right to Guy as it's his arm, or whether you want to force it upon him. I'll let you decide as players.
Yeah, so how many points have I got? I had 2 9s as well,
Two.
if that's right.
I had 9, so you just get
Okay. So for 2 points, let me just have a little quick look here. So for 2 points, I can do I think I'm going to rewrite I've got the negative trait of I trust nobody but myself, and I think I'm starting to open up. We're working well as a team here. So I'm going to change that to I spent 2 points to make that a positive trait. So I'm going to change that to I trust only my team. So kind of starting to be a bit more. So obviously we're moving through this carriage. We're working well together. Obviously the other two are keeping watching my back, and then
Just push each other out of the way in the background.
Yeah, I think if I can do my arm thing now, I think we come across, there's sort of a stiff locked carriage door that we come to, and with Jean Baptiste sort of covering, Brenda just without thinking sort of reaches out. It's clearly jammed and just pulls it off its hinges almost with this infected arm. You can see the metal, like Jean Baptiste gets to see like the metal like bends and cracks. Clearly something strange is happening, and then the arm's shaking, and I think like the old man that she's just seen, we just see the veins spread a little up the neck to there, and a little twitch goes a little bit further from there as this sort of ruined door gets fallen by the wayside.
No, I mean it hasn't affected us just yet, our trust, because obviously I've just rewritten one of my consequences. But one of my national agendas is destroy evidence of twisted technology. So something's just kind of sparking back in my head. I'm like, yeah, something's not quite right, and Jean Baptiste hasn't quite figured out what.
Okay, you can clamber through, and you've made your way through the most obvious obstacle and find yourself into a new part of the structure where there aren't many people, or at least none immediately apparent. What we need to determine is what George and Igor are doing about the men that are following them. Is there a confrontation? Is there a blind escape through the darkness? Is there some kind of distraction? How are the pair of you gonna?
Well, I don't know about you, George, but I'm all up for a blind escape through the tunnels. I'm not up for a gunfight in the.
Sounds good to me.
Do you even have a gun between you?
I think Igor has a gun, but like I honestly, I think it would be a matter of desperation.
Excellent. So we've got an action conflict. I'm going to say this is because there's civilians and people that you had got on side potentially in the way as well. I'm going to suggest this is a complicated scene as well. So you can either accept that I'm going to bring in the cold for more dice, or you can tell me just to make it a hard conflict, and I'll add 2 dice to the cold pool for later.
Will we take the cold, John?
I think we should bring that cold in. Yeah, bring it in.
Love it.
Yeah, and like, I don't want anyone to be under any illusions. Like Igor is like pushing desperate people out of the way. Like he's like smashing his way through people's tents. Like. kicking over like their cooking fire in his desperation to escape. He's like out of here.
Sounds good. Okay, so I guess you can both roll, and we'll just compare your results against what control gets to decide what the situation.
Okay.
I'm going to use 3 from the cold. I'm using a couple from Berlin and a couple from I'll use 3 from external enemies. They've got a gun, haven't they? So I'm rolling 8 dice against you guys.
So I'm rolling my action, which is 2. I'm going to pull in my works very well under extreme pressure, and my 1 step ahead of the opposition, and I think I'm also going to call on my maps of the tunnels that I've obtained and reviewed before we came down here for another 2 day.
And I'm going to say my goal here is to capture one of you, so that's the stake I'm aiming for.
I'm going to go with action, and I'm going to pull in. What trait do I pull in there? I could potentially pull in my politically naive and unworldly, because I don't think he realises how much trouble he's in right now. So he's not that stressed. I'm going to say
Right.
there.
He just thinks there's some thugs or something. Doesn't quite realise that.
Yeah, he hasn't
there's
quite
an
worked out that
organisation.
these are obviously the secret police, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pull that in. I'm not sure if he's got any other traits that are going to fit really. I mean, his hard nailed one isn't really for this. That's kind of more for standing up to them.
Yeah, if he stood up to them, it would be more appropriate.
Yeah, I'm going to go with those. I think that's it.
Excellent.
And can we use our trust in each other as well?
Yeah, we could do that if we. Yeah, I could do that.
I think so.
Look at this beautiful teamwork.
Yeah.
Your credits it is that.
Have you both rolled?
I have rolled. Ooh,
Okay, so my host is 3 9s.
I have 2 9s.
I have 110.
Oh,
Excellent. Okay, so narration rights are yours, Stephen, to tell us what happens. You get 1 point of consequence as well to spend.
Yeah. So I think we sort of dive down into the tunnels, and once we're away from the mob, we've pushed them all out of the way, kicked them out of the way, or at least Igor has. I don't know if that's how George rolls. Igor sort of holds a finger to his lips and gets George to turn off his flashlight, and we sort of prowl forward through the dark and disappear into the blackness, with them cursing behind us. And I got 1 point to spend. So that would let me. I'll increase trust with George by 1.
Okay.
Did have you back. Excellent. So I guess that'll seem will end with a staccato flash of light as someone's been shot. And then there's the cursing amongst them as they realise it wasn't Igor. There's someone who looked a bit like him in the dark. But you do evade the immediate threat anyway. So the other pair of you, are you holding back when you hear a shot down the tunnel? Or are you just pushing on and hoping that your team will catch up? Or have you got some other plan in mind?
I think we should maybe hold back and take cover.
yeah. I mean, as previously described, Jean-Baptiste is not shy of getting stuck into a conflict, let's say.
No.
So I think I will probably, if not, maybe even double back rather than hold back.
Yeah.
Because so possibly duck down with Brenda, but then gun out, start seeing if I can peering into the darkness, see if I can flash in this flashlight about when poor Igor has desperately tried to hide.
We
Trying
should
to
go
find out
back.
who.
They're a long way behind us.
Yeah, I didn't realise they were so far behind.
We should go and check on them. They might be injured.
After you, Brenda, I've got you. I want to keep Brenda in front of me.
Yeah. I'll hand on shoulder and move forwards. Surprisingly strong grip. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're all agreed that we want to get back together, will we just do that?
For sure. So I imagine there's a moment when Igor is happy he's got away, and then all of a sudden there's this flashlight in his face.
Yeah.
And then I'll reach down and pull you up into the carriage. Quick, in here. Who got shot? Has anyone been hit?
No one important.
Didn't know you had it in your ego.
George thinks back to the guy kind of who gripped his leg, who'd been shot, and kind of like it's just as in the flash of the light, just kind of like, and his face is going to be there forever now. Kind of.
So, yeah.
It's just you say no one important. It's kind of like
Yeah. Happily for you don't speak that much German, so you couldn't tell what he was pleading as he looked up.
yeah.
At
He
you.
was,
Well, we should press on. I think north is where they told me. We should be heading to the centre of it. Get through.
As we, sorry, go on.
Maybe we should make an effort to stick together and keep up.
As we walk, Igor will he'll tell you all about the enemy operatives that we encountered and how somebody obviously does not want our mission to be successful.
There's enemies all over the city. As long as we stick together, though, we'll be fine.
Yes.
And with that heartwarming comment, we'll just see. I think we've got time for one more scene before we take a break, perhaps, and recover our senses. But you're now stumbling about in the dark, and you've realised that where you were in a newbound tunnel, after you've gone through this wrecked carriage and stepped over like a break and things like that and some rubble, you realise you're now in some kind of sewer or something. So although you think you're heading roughly in the right direction, it's not along the tracks you once were. You've somehow got turned around in the darkness and with the wreckage and rubble and such. So you're going to have to rely on Igor's map probably to get you roughly where you think you should be. You know where the connecting tube station is that you think you need to get to. You've got like the overlay. Your map's a bit grimy, but you can see the overlay of train tracks along with rivers and sewers and things like that. So you could probably make it. So I'm going to present you with a challenge now, a complicated one, I think, as well. So it's up to you whether you want to give me dice for cold or let me use them. But it'll be about how you get to your next point. So there's a relatively safe option, and there'll be one that drags you into danger as you take an unsafe route. And that's the stake, really. Is can you discern the right way with the map and with the way that the architecture's all changed due to the war, or do you end up taking a circuitous route that's going to put you all in peril?
So I'm imagining us all huddled over these maps, like laid out in a rusted out barrel in the sewer, like
flashlights kind of held over.
Yeah, illuminated by flashlights and cigarette.
And they're all separate, like it's been folded and unfolded, so they're all separate sheets. So we're trying to match up. There's one missing right in the middle, which is the one that we need.
It's a double-sided map as well.
They've all been produced by some sort of god-awful 1950s, like pre-photocopy or duplicating.
all the purple's coming off.
The very, very thin paper that it's on that is damp.
Wonderful. So as a couple of rats scurry past and the wind howls through the sewers. Are you happy with this being with me bringing in cold dice again? Or do you want to give me 2 cold dice to just make it a regular hard conflict?
I think it fits with 4 of us having to actually work together for once properly. That does fit in the sort of Cold War.
Yeah.
So we begin to argue over which way up this map should go.
And we're kind of making some inroads on reducing your dice pools anyway. So I think we should definitely let you gamble some of those.
Okay. I am going to add 2 from the cold. It's not really external. You know what? I'm going to bring in 4 dice from my internal enemies and say that someone's trying to hide secrets from you within Islak and has given you a dodgy map.
Fucking.
And what else shall I use? Yeah, I'll use my monsters pool as well, because clearly there's things down here that are trying to find you, and the longer you take off your map, the more chances they will. So
it's not just rats, is it?
It's not just rats now.
So is this just a conflict between? Does one of us take the lead?
I think one of you takes the lead on this, and then if everybody else wants to add a trait or something to help with that, I think that's fine.
Well, Igor is not a smart cookie, so I would prefer not to take the lead, but I will throw in my maps, obviously.
Maybe George or Brenda, you're the.
I mean, George, you did logistics, didn't you? You're the obvious.
That makes sense.
Map reader, I think, to deal with this.
Okay. George will kind of rummage in his knapsack and pull out a compass that was in his knapsack and plop it down in the light and say, "This might give us some help." And we'll start examining the map in the dark.
Go for it.
So if he's senior service cigarette as he's watching.
I can lend you my newly minted "I trust only my team" consequence if you would like. Not consequence, trait.
Yeah, I can spot trouble at a glance.
So I'm going to get 3 dice from reason. I'm going to have 2 dice for my obsession with small details. I'm going to, if I've got a compass in my knapsack, that's a tool that we can use to help us kind of find the way, I guess, as well. So what do I get from the dice, the things you're bringing in now? What would...
So you get 2 dice from everybody else, basically, from their various tools and traits.
2 dice each.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 dice each. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. But I shall roll these and I'll see how they go.
I've rolled, so you can let me know when you're good to go.
Ooh, crikey. I have 2 10s.
So do I. I've got 3 9s as well.
Oh, I've got 1 9.
Oh,
No.
dangerous route it is.
Okay, the
But
one
it's of no consequence. Well, say it's of no consequence, but I've got lots of 8s, but they're useless to us. Never mind.
I don't want to give you all the same negative trait, but that's where I might go. I think I'm supposed to spend points around you, but because I'm using this is playtest rules, I can do what I want. I'm going to say it applies to everybody equally.
Can we
So
apply
I think
the same negative trait in different ways for each other? Something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah. I think I'm going to give you all a new negative trait because that allows you to roll more dice in future conflicts, and that's always good. So I'm going to give George overconfident in his abilities because you think you've cracked it and you haven't.
Yeah, good.
very much haven't.
I'm going to give Igor always trust the wrong person.
Yeah.
You think you've got a good map of someone, but you don't realise you're being strung along.
Yeah.
I will give. Who else have got?
I was wondering if I might have a men are useless
Yeah.
trait if I've been sidelined in these discussions and Brenda's
That's right,
believes.
You're trying
was
to point to the
overruled.
obviously safer route.
I think we should just spoken over the whole time.
Yeah.
You're just gonna hold that light. Hold that.
You just hold the
torch a bit.
torch. That's fine.
Pass me my flask.
Every day 6 as I'm down here in the
Yeah.
sewers in post-war Berlin.
It's still the 1950s.
Yeah, as long as I
Did you
can
have
have
an
men are useless. I'll
Yeah. Did you have an idea for yours, Andrew? Do you want to give Jean-Baptiste something?
If you've got an nothing springing to mind. If you've got a
Yes, I think it's something around authority, isn't it? Because you're actually you're a lieutenant, where he's a retired sergeant. So something around that, I think. Shall we say defers to others, or something like that? Or it needs to be a bit more specific, perhaps, than that. Defer to others seems like he'll defer all the time, but when in trouble, defers to others. That's probably more specific. Okay. And as we, as players and control, are going to head off to have some refreshments, the camera sort of pulls back up the tunnel that you're all heading down, having picked one from this sump room, and this thing skittering about in the darkness and slithering. But you all seem quite happy as your yellow light pans blinks on and off a bit as you shake the torch to get the battery working. And for viewers back home, we're going to take a quick break. We'll edit most of it out, so it should be quite quick, but we'll see you back here very shortly. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Cold City. In the first half, our bold group of Islak agents are descending into the depths of the old U-Bahn stations to a community and found out there's some kind of unpleasantness that the doctor they're looking for has perhaps conducted, and that maybe even one of them has already experienced something similar. Not only that, there are other external agents who are looking for one of our group and pursuing him into the darkness. And so it is that the group have found themselves in the sewer network, having broken the path from the U-Bahn, but know which station they want to get to and think they've found a path. Unfortunately, we, as the audience, know they have chosen poorly. The characters don't, though, so merrily they go about their way. And so it is. Oh, sorry, go on, go for it.
No, I'm going to grab George just as the other two are kind of picking their way past detritus, etc. And I just grab George's arm and I'm going to lean across and whisper into his ear. Have you seen Brenda's arm? And then, without elaborating, I'm gonna kind of push forward with my gun and my torch.
Has George seen Brenda's arm or not so far? I'm asking Gaz.
You don't have to ask me. You can ask Brenda. Okay.
Have I seen your arm?
Okay. You know that I'm unwell, and you've seen me maybe injecting myself with something that you recognise is not a standard treatment or painkiller that you would use. So you know that something's up. So yeah, you know I'm unwell. So you haven't seen my arm, but you know that it's up. I think it's...
Okay. George is now going to pay closer attention to Brenda as they're moving through the tunnels, sewers.
George has a knife, right?
George does have a knife, yes.
All right, just checking that. Come back to that. Might need that later.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a stickler for historical accuracy. I'm just going to point out that using a Fairbairn Sykes H-bar knife to cut someone's arm off would take a long time. It'd be quite difficult. But that's just a trivia point I'd like to throw out there just in case.
I feel much better now. With that verisimilitude, it's suddenly became very important for me.
I might have had my standard issue French Army axe. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, in this doctor's bag, I have got a hacksaw, probably, to be fair. So.
Oh, right.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. That's good.
Yeah.
No need to bring out the sharper dead treating tool just yet. Yeah. So you're travelling through the darkness. There's a bit of a look that goes between Jean-Baptiste and George. And George squints at Brenda, who probably smiles weakly in the darkness and clutches a bag to carry on. Igor nervously looks over his back, doesn't see anybody following right now. And you as a collective walk along the side of the sewer, which seems to have stagnant water in after you've walked for a little while, and stumble across and every now and again hold the map up and kind of look at it to make sure that you've got where you think you should do. You've had to double back a couple of times as the whole tunnel system's collapsed at certain points, and you've found yourself, you think, still on the right track. You're more kind of like convincing each other and so this is the right way. Yeah, and you all nod and like nobody feels entirely confident, but you think you're there, and as you've pushed on where you think there might be a break up ahead and the water's got stagnant, you realise that's because the sky's open above slightly where there was probably a manhole cover. There's a wider space that's open. Water is coming in from the rain above, and an appropriate peal of thunder and flash of lightning probably shows to illuminate the scene and reverberate around. You see the water's gone stagnant because of the bodies that have been piled. And you're not sure whether they were dumped down here from above or they were sheltered here when perhaps a shell hit or something else, but there is a literal dam of bodies, and the smell, which wasn't pleasant anyway, it's become acrid and you can feel it clawing at the back of your throat almost. But you're going to have to clamber over, through or round to get to where you need to be.
I mean, luckily Jean-Baptiste he doesn't feel revulsion. He's seen far worse than this. So I'm just gonna, I guess, maybe tie a neckerchief across my nose, across my face, and then start pulling bodies out of the way with my bare hands. I guess they're kind of gonna start falling apart as I do that.
That's exactly.
It's very unpleasant. Get covered in I don't know. What's the word?
Viscera.
That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the flesh starts to slough off the bones, and you like deglove an arm occasionally. So it's probably pretty wretched for the rest of you, but you do notice that Jean-Baptiste is showing the same sort of expression that perhaps a bricklayer would do building a house. So something doesn't seem to be at all phased. So I think this is definitely a conflict for you. I think this is pretty cold, so I'm gonna try and activate my make it complicated again. Do you want to let me use my cold dice pool or give me 2 dice for later?
Go on, have it.
You're all trying to chip away at my cold dice pool. I know what you're all doing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use 2 out there.
This is very Berlin-y though, isn't it? It's a very Berlin situation.
It is. I'm going to use dice out of Berlin just to, because I know what you're trying to do. It may upset you to learn. I'm also going to use 6 dice out of monsters.
That is troubling. That is
start to
troubling.
work your way through.
Yeah, that's because I'm kind of knee deep in corpses. I'm sure that's going to be
Yeah. I mean, if it helps, I'm going to help you by.
Not with your arm, I hope.
No, still sulking a little bit. I'm going to get out, just spray some perfume out, and just become a little bit all overcome and help you with my men are useless talent. I'm quite happy in this situation to let you take the lead and take advantage of your clear everyday sexism with me to let you get through. So you can have 2 negative dice again from a different
negative
trait.
All right, that's fine.
Okay,
this is action, right, Kaz?
I'd say so.
I can help as well, I think, if Gaz is using dice from monsters. Igor is just standing there smoking while you're digging through these bodies. But he does have the trait knowledge of twisted technology experiments, so maybe he'll spot something before you do.
Okay.
So I'll throw in 2 dice to your pool for that.
It's too late. Okay. Thank you.
At the same time as it's too late.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. I've got 110.
Let's have a look. That's a percentile dice. Unfortunately, that's not a 10. Okay, my highest is a 9. Unfortunately, that's troubling.
Okay, I've got 4 9s.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, I've got 1 9, and then the next one beyond that is a 7, which is probably not a good look. If you've got any 8s.
Well, then you have at least 1 9, so that's where the matching stops there at least. So that's good from your perspective, anyway.
None of the negative traits came up top, which is small mercies, I suppose.
Yeah, and my cold dice didn't come out top either, so that prevents any further things. Okay, so happily George has stood back at this point, so he's not affected in any way.
George is smoking another senior service.
That fire might be useful momentarily. So I get all my dice back, which is good. I'm going to add with my 4 points.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to use 3 of them to return the Berlin pool to 8 dice.
No, to starting value. Blimey.
As soon as you start to get on top of Berlin, it's right back at you.
It just calls back on top of you, doesn't it?
Drags you back in.
I'm going to, for my other point, I'm going to reduce your character's trust with Igor by 1.
Okay. So
well, that's pretty fair to be.
Down to 1.
To be honest,
he's meant to be pointing out the.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think that's in my view of what happens is the bit where Igor is watching and sees. At first, you think the fingers of one of the arms is reaching towards Jean-Baptiste, and you realise that it's actually like sprouting out of the end of the dead flesh of black tendrils, worm-like tenebrae. And you just have a momentary pause of, I wonder what that is, which just stops you from shouting, like, don't. So, yeah, I guess at that point, that's when as you pull, you feel like there's just wrapping around you like an octopus grabbing your arm. There's these black slimy tentacles that then start to constrict, and you can feel your hand going white, numb, as the blood's cut off. So I guess for all you do, what you do, I think what I'll do is try and do a sort of like a staccato set of scenes, like it's a comic strip that you do a bit of an every man for himself at this point, where somebody tries to do something to either get out of the way or stop it or do something else. So, guys, shall we start with you? If that's all right, I'll just go around my screen so I can keep track of.
Yeah, I'm strangely not disturbed by these black tendrils immediately, as they do look familiar to me as well as the kind of thing I've inspected on my arm. I think Brenda leaps forward at this, leading with her arm to sort of wrench Jean-Baptiste out of it, diving straight into the mass of flesh to try and free him.
Sounds good. I guess your goal is to free him. My goal is to subsume you into the morass.
Yeah. Nice. So is that a roll? Are we just?
I think we need to. Yeah, I'm gonna do these as a set of conflicts.
So I've got action. I've got can spot trouble at a glance. I've got negative traits aplenty. Impulsive and likely to jump in with both feet. Experimental medical treatment. Do I use many useless as well in this one?
I mean, I'm a man. So.
You are useless. You have just got yourself in trouble. I don't think I can use my trust in you though, can I? Because I'm not. Unless I was trying to push you further in, that would be
Yeah, stab me in the back.
And this doesn't really bring in my agendas really from that.
Okay. I've rolled. I've got a 9 as my highest.
Oh, I have got a 10 on a negative trait.
Not nice.
Okay, so you don't get subsumed by the morass. It's good. You get to free Jean-Baptiste, but what's the bad thing that comes out of it?
I sort of don't want it to just spread more. Maybe it's to everyone else. It's obvious that there's something different about my arm, just to really ramp up that. So again, the arm. Go on.
Could it be recognized? I was going to say, could it be recognizable that we recognize the kind of the tendrils and the kind of the veins in your arm? Maybe it's something similar. Or is that?
Yeah, and I wrench it out and like my sleeves all torn and stuff, so you can see the whole thing, and it's more than it was before in the shot we saw at the start of that.
George's eyes widen as he sees your arm, and there's a strange glint as he suddenly spots what's going on with your arm there.
Jean-Baptiste, are you okay? Do you need treatment? As I'm just trying to style it out, and
it's not break the skin. And look, check now.
So
hasn't it?
Igor, I think you noticed that there's just a general movement in the wall of bodies, that it's not just that one arm. There's something's kind of pushing out. It's bulging out.
While everyone else is distracted by what's happening with Jean-Baptiste, Igor produces a flick knife, and he's gonna like approach the morass and clip off a tendril and try and wrestle it into a little cheap Soviet cigarette case he's got.
What's warning us, right? Right.
I'll get right on that warning you thing when I've got what I need. Thank you, mate.
So I think with everything going on, I could make this easy for you if you want. I can say you can just do it if you want to give me 2 dice.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% just gonna take that. Yeah.
Perfidious treachery.
Okay, I need to just reduce my pools from the previous conflict I lost, so then I can put them back up by 2, or one of them anyway.
For my 1 point, I've
restore my monsters. I think
I've just increased Jean-Baptiste trusting me. That seems reasonable.
Yeah,
that's okay.
That seems very
so
much.
my trust in you.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Okay. So there's a little bonding moment going on. There's a snip of a sample from Igor. What's George do around this situation? You are probably aware as well that whatever it was, although you've got Jean-Baptiste out of immediate danger, the danger generally is not over.
George is going to back off from this morass of bodies that appear to be kind of like almost like straining forward, I guess, like out of where it is, and he's going to reach in his trusty knapsack. And I did write down here that he has a Zippo lighter from a fellow quartermaster in the US Army. So he's going to pull out a Zippo, which is kind of flames, and then he's going to try and find something that he can. It's quite wet down here, but he's going to see if he can find anything at all that he can make a fire with, something like that. But something. I guess it'd be quite difficult to do, but he's going to attempt to. So unless there's an oily sheen on the water and it looks like there's actually.
Of course, there's a beautiful petrol rainbow that descends across the water. Like in this kind of game, John, you tell me what you want. I'm a river to my people.
He's going to see the oily sheen and realizes that he can make a superficial surface fire, and he's going to find some. He's probably got a piece of paper, maybe a bit of the map that that Igor had, and it'll probably be important later. But he'll light this bit of the map and say, and say, "Igor, move!" And then he'll throw the water. He'll screw it up, light it, and throw it to hopefully try and light the surface of the water and maybe fry these things a little bit to give us time to back off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your goal is to use fire to get yourselves
Yes.
out of there. I'm going to say my goal is just to inflict pain and suffering upon you. So if you fail on this consequence, then there'll be some
Okay.
fire-related damage coming your way.
So I'm going to build a pool, then I guess. So I'm going to go with
Yeah.
action. I'm going to.
This is complicated because you try not to burn your friends. Are you happy to give me 2 dice to my cold pool, or do you want me to be able to bring that in?
Yeah, go for it. I'm also going to use a negative trait here because I am, as you remember telling me earlier, overconfident in my abilities. So I think this is going to work. It might not do. So I'm guessing, does that mean 2 negative dice or is it 1 negative die? I'm not sure if I bring in a negative trait.
If you bring a negative trait, you get 2 dice as normal. But if the
2
negative dice come out at top, then you get a negative consequence.
So,
even if you
so I put in 2 different coloured dice there for that. Okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and I've got my lighter. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, you might do all right here. The highest I've got is 7s.
I have 4 8s, and none of them, and the negative dice are a 7 and a 1, so that's okay.
Yeah, so you get what you want. You can describe it, and you can spend 4 points of consequences.
4 points of consequences? Crikey, where do I go with them?
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to say that my warning comes in time for Igor to kind of jump out of the water. Maybe he gets a bit singed, but he gets clear just in time. Whether Igor, it's up to you. I assume you may have got your sample. I didn't see what happened there with your knife and the sample, but it catches fire. I don't, and they shrivel. I don't know if there's a hissing noise. I don't know whether that's being made by just the burning or whether it's something that's making the hissing noise in the water as well, that kind of thing. As it kind of the whole place lights up with macabre some shadows all over the place as these bodies catch fire, and the fire, yeah. So
I think Igor skitters away like at the last minute as you shout a warning, and reaches back and grabs the cigarette case
at the
that he's
last minute.
dropped just as the flames sort of
This is the
race
black
towards it.
tendril trying to wrap round it.
Snatches it back.
I'm going to so I've got, how many did I say? I've got 3 consequence points. 4, crikey, okay. I'm going to maybe increase my action because I kind of I feel confident now, so I can increase my action by a point for use, and
Definitely.
and then can I write a negative trait into a positive one so that my overconfidence actually becomes a good thing, that I actually kind of start becoming a bit more bullish and adventurous rather than being a logistics guy. I'll do that as well.
Sounds good. Excellent. So you're not sure with the flickering black images on the wall which bits are the flames, which bits are shadows, which bits are something unnatural that's crawling around the stonework. But as the flame goes up and the hissing goes louder, almost to like a steam-like whistle, you all manage to stumble back and get some kind of safety. Probably stumbling around in the tunnel some more, not quite sure where you're going. And then you have a decision to make around, do we go back? Will it be clear now? Should we just try and find a different way? And it's then that you stumble across someone who's lurking in the shadows. There's a flutter in the hearts possibly of Igor as he thinks maybe they've caught up with him, but it's not the followers from before. There's a man probably in his late 50s, something like that. He looks quite thin, quite pallid, a little bit sunken. He's wearing what was once probably a white lab coat type affair, but it's now brown, the best way of describing it. Looks even darker in the one light of your 1 or 2 electric torches. You have to keep shaking the batteries off as there's a hellish glow coming from far away. And he almost recoils at you and then checks you, and he speaks in German at first, which probably you'll know a little bit of. It just says that we have to get out of here. It's got out. Do you know a way to the surface? I have money, and he sort of starts patting his pockets, and it seems quite obvious that he doesn't have any money.
Wait here, what's got out? What are you talking about, man?
The doctor's experiments. They were never supposed to, but they got out. They're not. It's not good. They're contagious. It's a disease. Yeah.
Where is the doctor?
In the lab. Back there. Don't go there though. It's contaminated now. We must leave. And he sort of eyes at Brenda suspiciously as it's not quite clear in the darkness what's going on there.
And who are you who are wearing a lab coat and are not the doctor?
It's just one of his assistants. He helped me with my wife. There's no medicine, but he helped her, and I said I'd assist him, but I didn't know what I was getting into. You have to believe me, but we have to. There's things down here, and the strange keening whistle from down the previous tunnels you've been in sort of seems to echo through as he says that.
So he said he's not the doctor, and he's pointed us in the direction of the lab. Can I shoot him?
You can certainly try. In fact, I'm going to make that easy. So if you want to give me 2 dice, you could just shoot him.
Yeah, I mean, it's my national agenda is to destroy any evidence of twisted technology, which I do believe includes scientists that work on such things.
Probably this guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're certainly not going to let him go, are we? That seems like a bad idea.
Okay,
so let's do that easy. There's only 2 dice on that.
2 points go to external enemies as you shoot on the face. Okay.
Right, he's told us where we need to go. Check his pockets, and let's see if we can find this lab. Have you got any more of the? You'll need your Zippo, I suspect, George.
Mm-hmm. I have my Zippo to hand. It's all good.
Okay, as John Baptista's shouted, check his pockets and strode off in the direction of the lab. Does anybody actually do that, or do you just leave the body slowly cooling in the?
I will certainly check his pockets, particularly looking for any documents that he might have taken with him.
He has an identity card with him, and it's Dr. Kurt Wagner is the name that's written on it, with a picture that looks very much like him if he was a younger man and in better health.
Oops. Surely defeating Kurt Wagner wouldn't be so easy. It's just shooting him with an easy conflict.
While Brenda's searching the pockets, George will light one of his cigarettes in the manner that the light illuminates Brenda's arm, so he can finally identify that there is something to be seen there.
Oh yeah, you definitely see that, I think. Do you take any action with it at this point?
Not right now, no.
I think I pull on the lab coat, actually.
Yeah.
Going into the character.
Awfully chill down here.
It's somewhat ill-fitting, but yeah, I'll do the job.
Yeah. Covers the arm, yeah, and take the card. I don't think I will share with the rest of them that this is Wagner. Because I want to get to the lab, and that might put some people off if we have defeated him.
Okay.
George was too interested in your arm, he didn't see the card.
Yeah.
And you all make your way down. We'll montage the various different obstacles you have to come across before arriving at your destination. Igor, you probably hear there's footsteps behind now. There's a sort of vaguely muffled shout from back going, it's down this way. Yeah, I can see a light. And you feel this.
Everyone, we need to hurry. Islak's enemies are close behind us. Let's complete our mission and get out of these godforsaken tunnels.
It's very mission focused for once, Egon.
Even a broken clock and all that.
I've never known Islak to have so many enemies. Since we started working with you, Egon, it's funny that. All kinds of walks of life.
Wonderful. And so it is that through a break in a wall, you stumble out into an old station. So if you imagine yourselves on the level of the tracks, there is the sort of like rusted metal. Now beneath it, around there are somewhat alarmingly several bodies. You assume still ones that aren't going to animate or have things inside them gestating, but maybe that's a bold assumption. On the level above, there's a generator that's still trundling away, making a noise with black oily smoke from the diesel bubbling out of it. And there's a considered rack of harsh lights, like a bar light, that are illuminating the scene on the top of the platform in between these stark concrete columns. And there's lots of metal gurneys with white sheets over and very obviously something underneath most of them, and an array of medical equipment, jars, barrels even, and other accoutrements that litter the place. But no sign of anybody around at the minute. But it's filthy, stinks, there's dirt and stains everywhere.
No
And
sign of Dr. Wagner.
There is no immediate sign of Dr. Wagner, no.
Oh, where could he have gone?
With all the nooks and crannies, there may be someone hidden away somewhere in here, you don't know. What's your plan of approach?
I want to head straight down to these gurneys. I'm going to start pulling sheets off them. Obviously, one of these could be my brother. I'm putting out of mind the warning that was given to me at the start of this mission about that he's, well, something horrible has happened to him. I'm sure he's one of these corpses. I'm sure that I can discover him.
Excellent. What's George doing?
George is going to climb up onto the platform, and as he does so, his knapsack bag clunks like there's more in that knapsack than you think.
Igor, what are you doing?
Igor is looking to see if there's any files or papers. So essentially, Igor is going to see if he can find any. He's looking for evidence of the Soviet defector that was working with the doctor, so he can dispose of it.
Wonderful.
Are there a lot of filing cabinets here then, that kind of thing, or are they?
There's what used to be the ticket office.
Right.
Is filled with papers and satchels and things.
Well, while Jean-Baptiste is pulling sheets off bodies, I will go and have a look around, see if there's anything worth taking back to my friends in high places. So I'm not, anyway, off doing that.
Okay, and Guy, what is Brenda up to, if anything?
Brenda is looking through the documents as well, trying to make sure that she gets any medical research documents before Igor or George get their hands on them. Trying to leverage what little medical knowledge she has about where the actual research will be stored, rather than just lists of names of people that have been taken and things, hopefully. But
Excellent.
Very keen to get them before they do.
It's not a library. We are here to destroy this place, right? You are looking through these documents.
Everyone's going through the papers.
Yeah, you're going to set fire to them.
Time for the papers.
Right?
So
This is a filing montage moment.
Yeah,
This is the climax of the adventure.
I'm going to put Jean-Baptiste to one side for now as he wrenches back the first sheet, and then the camera pans away as the three of you sort of we're all working on the same team, start snatching papers off each other.
Pushing each other out of the way.
Good luck with the
I
monsters.
love it, there's just files
Jean-Baptiste.
flying in the air, kind of thing, all over the place.
So for the three of you, we'll have a three-way contest, so I don't need to roll any dice, happily.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be reason-based, and it's who can take the information they need before the others get to it, I guess. So if you want to try and assemble dice pools against each other to try and work out, and the goal is you'll achieve your agenda, so it'll either be find the defector or get the medical notes, or
Do we all get betrayal dice from the other two players as well?
You can all get your betrayal dice with the other players that you're betraying, yes. So use their trust is the dice that you add to your pools.
Yeah. Miraculously, yeah. George still trusts me quite a lot, despite more fool him.
I don't think anybody really trusts Igor that much. Regrettable.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm using the agenda means you get each attribute twice, doesn't it, as well?
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm going to use my knowledge of twisted technology experiments, and also my always trust the wrong person.
Yeah.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah, I'm impulsive and likely to jump in with both feet, as I'm literally elbowing out the way, and also, of course, men are useless, so they're not going to find anything. So, yeah.
I'm going to use my obsession with small details from being in logistics, looking for the right piece of information,
Mm.
and I'm very, very overconfident in my abilities here as well. But it's a positive streak here, so I guess I'm kind of like snatching papers out of other people's hands if I think they've got something that might be of interest, kind of thing now as well.
Sounds good.
I've got a couple of 10s.
I have 2 10s.
I have 4 10s.
Oh,
There you go.
So how does this work? How many 10 of my 10s get knocked out by the...
So everybody cancels 2 10s across the board, which
Yeah,
will just leave
okay.
you with a 2 10s. So you've got 2 points of consequence you can spend. And you find the identity of your defector, which
Yeah.
we'll just do as a file that you put in your pocket, because this is a one-shot.
Yeah,
we don't need
he's
to
a guy.
yeah,
If there was a next episode, we'd find that guy.
we do more with that, yeah. As it now, Oleg just gets put in a...
Yeah. And my 2 points of consequences. Once I've got my file, I'll sort of dig in and help the others find what they're looking for. So I will increase both their trust in Igor by 1.
That sounds good. Okay. So while all that's going on,
While you're making a bonfire.
yeah, as Jean passes, you pull one sheet off and then another, and there's people in various distressing states, but it's not ability. All you're worried about it's not Renault.
No.
And you feel more than hear something, and kind of look around, and the body fall. At first, you think it's just a body falling and just like slaps into the filthy tiles at your feet, and then raises itself up, and you can just about recognise Renault, but his face is more black squirming things under the translucent flesh than real skin. And although he kind of almost leaps at you, like you just see that spark of recognition, and it's hard for him to speak to you because his mouth is full of, like a sea anemone, full of just black, oily tendrils. But he clutches at you and sort of make out him saying, "Must eat." And you look sideways at the 3 of them all like point at this document with their backs to you.
No, the thing that's the mistake he's made. You see, there's if it was just there's a glimmer of Renault still in there, which makes it's going to be act of mercy to put a bullet right through his heart, maybe. I think so. As he kind of clutches me closer, I can feel these worms squirming against my skin. I've got my gun out already. My gun was already out, and I'm gonna just shoot him straight through the heart, which maybe doesn't do anything. I don't know. This creature.
Yeah, well, we'll find out.
Let's find out. Yeah, exactly. Oh. What's happened to you? Who is responsible for such a thing? Can I shoot them next? If I haven't already.
Okay. Let's go bigger, but go home. I'm going to use all my monsters dice for this.
All of them. Blimey.
Okay. All 6.
Okay. Well, it's my personal agenda, so I get to double my action dice. I have, as previously discussed, no compunctions about killing people, which unfortunately includes my brother. And I think because of the war, I feel no revulsion. No negative traits there, which is a bit sad. But
I'm going to use internal enemies here as my dice pool as well, because I think your own brother counts as.
Yeah, cool.
Well, he doesn't think you're an enemy, but you seem to think.
You say no.
I've got 110 for me so far.
I have also got 110.
I've got 19.
I've got 2 9s. Take that, Renault. Bang!
He does indeed have a heart, even though it is full of worms.
Yes, it's very worm infested. Which of your? Oh, you said you used all your monster dice, didn't you? Can I
Yeah.
also reduce the internal enemies pool by an extra 1 as well?
Yes, seems good.
Yeah, as you said, internal enemy, one less internal enemy. Obviously, it's greatly distressing. It will haunt me for the rest of my life. But in this particular moment, there is closure in finding out this Renault. And as the bullet, the single gunshot, which maybe everyone else spins round.
Well, did any of us know it was
kind
Renault? Because we didn't see it. Yeah,
Well,
either.
yeah, it's true. And Renault kind of slumps to the floor, or maybe I let him down gingerly, and all those tendrils kind of go still.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you all spin around hearing the gunshot and then see it's like someone's thrown a lot of tadpoles against a wall behind him. There's all these blackened bits of tendrils sort of slowly, viscous fluid around them slicking to the floor. And as the shot sort of echoes round, there's a disturbance amongst those bodies that are still in the room. As you all sort of pause in your paper shuffling to look around. So, for viewers listening at home, what's happened is one of my control dice pools has reached 0, and as this is a one shot, that means we have one final scene where I get to use all my cold dice and everything, and we resolve the whole shebang, the whole adventure, or this mission. So we probably need to set up some goals. You're aware that I think most of you will have what you need in one way or other. It seems that Igor helped his friends out to build that trust back up again. He's an old operator.
He's a great guy, really.
Yeah. I'm a friend to everybody. And you have some things. It's up to you guys whether you're all working together or whether someone's got something that they want to do to stop other people or to help other people or whatever. So I'll let you set it out. My goal is to keep the secrets here where they are. And that will mean the end of all you. So that's what I'm aiming for as control. But you might have your own thing. So
my goal is to destroy. That's my national goal is to destroy the any evidence of twisted technology. So unbeknownst to me what these guys have taken, but I think that means destroying the lab.
George's goal is to bring something back so that he can use it as leverage to go back to his retirement and go back. And the thing he wants to bring back is Brenda and her arm, but he'll bring Brenda back alive because he doesn't want this whatever is in her arm to be dead when they get there. So he's going to try and make sure Brenda gets out, and then use his friends in high places to whisk her away in a black car later. Is his plan?
Sounds amazing.
And as strange as it may sound, I think Igor is on Jean-Baptiste's side because I think he is happy for everyone else to believe that the twisted weapon has been destroyed.
Yeah, my goal is the first part of it is the same as George's for Brenda, for her to get herself out alive. It makes sense to destroy the rest of it, and I've got the research notes that hopefully can be used to find a cure for whatever I've got now.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got an idea about what will happen. Whoever's dice come out best will get their outcome. So basically, you're all playing against each other a little bit, but also against me because I just want you all to die down here. But well, not me. The game does. It's not me that wants to. So there's two ways that Brenda might get out. What might be good, might be bad, whatever. We'll see what the dice say, right? So, I'm going to bring in my cold dice at last. Hooray. And I get my external enemies. And a little bit of Berlin, just to finish it. Everybody lets me know when they're ready.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, I'm not good, but
You're not good, but you've rolled the dice.
yeah.
Yeah, I've put in my trust with George. I'm not quite. It depends on how I roll, whether it's betrayal or trust. But they're both the same score, so just happily the game supports that.
Yeah.
You're good. You roll, John?
You want me to roll, you say?
Yeah. We'll get everybody rolling, and we'll just see who works out best, and they'll have narration rights to tell us what happens.
So George, just very quickly, there was another cutscene of George leaving his house with his suitcase and his wife coming running down with something wrapped up in an oily rag saying, "Please be careful." And the thing that was in his knapsack that clunked, he pulls out his service revolver, having had it along all the time, and uses that in the scene to help them get them out.
Sounds useful.
Right, so I'll use my action, and I'll use my revolver, and I'll use my. I can use my overconfidence here because I think I've got a revolver now as well. I'm doing well, and we're going to use my trust in Brenda to get Brenda out as well.
Excellent. We're all rolled?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So,
Yeah.
I've got three tens. That's my highest.
Oh, right, okay. I'm out. I'm only on 110.
Yeah, I'm at 2 tens.
I have
was
3
at
tens.
110.
I have 3 tens. It's the highest I've rolled. I've got 3 nines as well. Crikey.
Nice.
Did you say 3 tens, Andrew?
I did, yeah. One of which is the negative trait I brought in, which was when in trouble, defer to others, which might be about
Okay.
to come in.
Well, both you and John roll 3 tens, so they'll cancel each other out, and we're out of the running for who wins. So it's how many nines
Yeah,
you've got.
So I don't have any nines, actually. I've just got 3 8s as my next. So
Everything below that's 2s and 1s. That's kind of lucky for me.
Yeah. Okay. So
All
rather
right.
rather appropriately, when in trouble, I defer to others, which in this case is this is George.
That works out beautifully. Okay, so John, you get to describe the scene that happens, and after you've described the combination, I'll give everybody else their own little individual vision act to finish off, if you like. But what happens?
It's going to descend into chaos as the creatures animate, I guess, and whoever's armed starts shooting, and there's gunfire, and then something catches fire as well. I throw my lighter to Jean Baptiste, who sets fire to something as well, and things start burning around, and we make a dash for. We see a skylight, and so there's a dramatic scene of us trying to climb out as things are trying to grasp at our legs and that kind of thing as well. I think so. I mean, individually though, I don't know how what everybody else does, but that's kind of how I see the scene go. So.
Yeah, and I think later on there's you with your arm around Brenda and a black car coming around the corner.
Yeah. Yes.
Something like that. Excellent. So, Jean Baptiste, what do we see? You can do that straight after this immediate escapade, or it could be a bit later on. It could be a day, a week, a month, whatever you want. What do we see, Jean Baptiste?
Yeah, so I think we'll. It's kind of a quick cut, I guess. So, he's in the moment. He's very, he's capable of killing his brother without any compunction. But maybe later we see him at a kind of a unmarked grave. Possibly there's no remains to bury, but he's kind of finally got a little bit of closure. But he's probably sporting some sort of injury from that scenario. His arm is in a suspicious sling, maybe concealing what's under the bandages.
Yeah, more bandages than may seem necessary.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. I think we should leave Brenda till last, as that could be interesting. So, Stephen, what do we see of Igor?
This is probably a couple of weeks later. We see Igor sort of climbing the steps into an old attic. He's got a wrap from the butchers, like with the blood soaking through it, and as he sort of walks up to a table and he's clucking and like tittering to his little friends, and we see a cage full of rats, and they've got the black veins writhing in them, and he unwraps his slab of viscera from the butchers.
Beautiful stuff.
Starts feeding it through the bars.
Yeah. License to print money. And finally, Brenda, what do we see of her?
I think this is This is a month or so afterwards. I think we see a sort of leafy British hospital where she's being signed out. Arm in a sling, clearly still all bandaged up and stuff. And there's a sort of car pulls up, and we're pleased you've got the all clear. It says, it's feeling much better now. It's fine, ready to get back to the service soon. And as she steps in the car, there's just it's a bright sunny day, there's a bit of pollen in the air. We just see her catch and just sneeze into a handkerchief and discard it by the road. And as we zoom in on the handkerchief, there's just a little black tendril writhing around in it still.
Amazing stuff. And with that, and George sat by his fireside, having finally gone back into retirement, I presume. we can call that a wrap on the session. Thanks all for playing. I hope you viewing it enjoyed it as well. This was a condensed and quite punchy session, so we went through, but obviously if you play it at home or have more sessions, you can do more of the interaction, chatting to people, having conspiracies and spies and all kinds of things. Play it whichever way you want, and the game does support with some rules and advice about how you might run different styles of game. So this has just been a flavour. Hopefully it's given you an idea about how the rules work and you enjoyed it along the way. If you enjoyed this, please do consider rewarding us with a like and subscribe, ring that bell, as that all helps the channel out and it's free to do. And check out our other videos. We've run a variety of different games, from horror to D&D to free league style stuff, so have a look through our back catalogue and tell us what you think. And if you're looking forward to the Kickstarter, do comment below and let us know what sort of game of Cold City you would play. And any questions, of course, feel free, give us a shout. And until next time, viewers, bye for now.